Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Lucha Underground Luchador Spotlight. This is episode 10. Crazy that we're already 10 episodes into this. I know that we haven't really given a lot more information on the series other than just that we're doing it and what days we're doing it on, but now I'm going to fill you guys in. I've figured it out, and we are going to be doing a grand total of 31 episodes. We will be skipping Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, and New Year's Eve to be with our families, so those days you're not going to get one. And because of all of that, we've done the calculations, and our last episode of Luchador Spotlight will be on January 5th. Hopefully, either one day or one day and 1 week before episode 1 of season 2 of Lucha Underground. So, John, today we're talking about the Machine Cage.
Cage is a phenomenal athlete with an amazing look. I said it at the end of our last Luchador Spotlight, which I believe was Delvar Davari, when you said that we were doing Cage. Cage was one of two guys, it was him and Pentagon, that I thought about when I was originally conceiving of this series that got me so excited for it, because I just think the world of the Machine, and I'm really excited to be talking about him today with you here, Ashton.
Absolutely. And as far as Cage himself goes, I think one of the most identifiable features that isn't directly him, but it sort of is just a situation that surrounds him. Melissa Santos, every single time she announces his name, it's the same thing. They call him Cage. And you know shit's about to hit the fan.
Oh, absolutely. Really, if I was to sing this man's praises, that would be a commentary in itself, so I'm going to keep it brief. But I have a picture for him in season two. And the beautiful thing about Lucha Underground and my optimism for the brand is that my plans for him in season two feed into his future in season three and beyond, because Lucha Underground will go on forever and ever and
That's
ever.
right, because season 2 is not the last season.
Exactly. So
Just like season 1 wasn't the last season.
yeah, that's right. In all of your faces that were like, oh, well, it certainly seems to be an ambiguous future for Lucha Underground. Well, who's laughing now, huh? Sorry. But, yeah, I'm ready to do this whenever you are.
All right, so let's just get into the brief summary of what happened with him in season 1. I feel like we've done a little bit better of a job recently of kind of condensing this so that we're not talking about every little tiny thing that he did and just kind of doing big, broad strokes. So obviously he debuted in an awesome Fatal 4-Way match that also included three other debuting luchadors, Angelico, Argenis, and Aerostar, but he wiped them out one by one and ended up winning because he's dominant. And it was an elimination match too, which was even cooler. But then he immediately set his target towards the Lucha Underground Championship. He didn't win it, and then he tore it in half. So if I can't have it, nobody can. And then he started wearing it around his neck as some sort of, like a trophy. And then we had that awesome segment where he was in Cueto's office, and Cueto was like, look, man, you're the perfect champion. I wish I could just give you the title, but I can't, so you're going to have to face Puma. And then Puma faced him, and Conan threw in the white towel. He threw the white flag. And, of course, that means that Cage won by forfeit, I guess the word would be. So then he gets another championship match, loses thanks to Conan because of that frickin' reinforced rod of his. And then we get really that was kind of the last real like pure storyline that Cage was in between that and the big Cage feud that he had, or I'm sorry, Cage, the Mac feud that he had. It was just a lot of him just kind of doing like spot kind of random here and there, random matches. He was a part of Metal Gear Solid, and then he had a bunch of different matches with just kind of random people. John, do you have any really distinct memories of what he was doing in between the Puma and Mac feud?
In between, no. No, I think your analysis is spot on. He was just kind of there. And yeah, then of course he kind of rounded things out and punctuated his season with the whole program with the Mac. So yeah, I think you pretty much covered everything, bro.
Yeah, I do love the way that they wrote him into his feud with the Mac because there was really nothing going on between them. But then randomly, I feel like it was a fatal 4-way, and the Mac went out of his way to keep Cage from winning rather than actually trying to win the match himself, and that just enraged Cage.
Yes, yes, I really like that too, dude. Like the way they just developed this whole grudge, and I think I even said this when we were doing our Lucha rewatch series, that they developed the grudge in such a short time. It really did feel organic, and I like the motivations coming from both sides. So yeah, it was a solid program.
Oh, and we didn't even mention he got some amazing video packages prior to his debut.
Yes, he did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, working out, flipping over the tire, doing stuff like that, and really just showing that his physical feats,
Beating the shit
were
out of three guys in a parking lot.
exactly, getting hit, I think, with like a glass bottle or something, just no selling it, just showing, that he is inhuman because he is, in fact, a machine.
He
I
did have a
loved it.
match with Johnny Mundo.
Yes, he did. Yeah, and
I
it was,
almost let
yeah.
that slip my mind. He had a match with Johnny Mundo earlier on in his season. It was like episode 13 or somewhere around there. And yeah, he had I think he actually won too because that was Cuerno getting involved, if I remember correctly.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, because Cuerno picked apart the leg, and then Mundo and Cage went on for like I think another like 3-5 minutes. Wasn't really that long, and Cage ultimately won with Weapon X, which is an amazing finisher, by the way.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
another thing that's worth pointing out.
yeah, his move set is incredible. But with that said, do you want to get into like his second season here, or is there anything else you want to touch on with his first season?
I'm trying to remember if there was anything really noteworthy about his first season. Really, it's just he kind of just transitioned from going after the world title to going after the trios titles to now I'm pissed off at the Mac. And then it culminated in that amazing street fight falls count anywhere match that we had at Ultima Lucha Night 1 between him and the Mac.
Which he won. Cage
Yeah,
was victorious in that one, so he start.
impressively even.
Yeah, yeah, I would say. Well, curb stomped the guy's head into a cinder block, so I'll say it was impressive. So yeah, record of 1-0 at Ultima Lucha, already
Oh,
starting to
and that's
build that
right.
up.
Let's not allow ourselves to forget too that the Mac was almost the third man in the Davari Big Rick team, but Cage destroyed him backstage.
Well, that was the catalyst for the whole program.
That's right. And
You
that's
know,
what kind of led to the Mac really going out of his way to prevent Cage from winning that fatal four-way match for the Aztec Medallion that kind of really just sent Cage into anger.
right?
That sent Cage into rage mode.
There you go.
But yeah, so then we get a couple of quick roll-up victories by the Mac, and then we get the big, amazing blow-off match at Ultima Lucha Night 1, which, of course, Cage, as you said, wins decisively with a freaking curb stomp. Through a
Yeah, man,
cinder block, John!
brutalized him, man, brutalized him.
All right, let's get into season 2 now. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first so we can save yours for last?
I'll go first because like I've already kind of had this. I think my only preoccupation, my only predicament is what order I want to do these things in. But let me first start by saying this. And I know I've said this in the past, even in our Lucha Underground reviews when we were just experiencing the first season in real time. I think the world of Cage. I think he has a look and a move set where tomorrow, if they all huddled in a meeting and they said, "Hey, we want Cage to be the man," I could buy it. Absolutely. I just think he has all the tools to really be that guy. And I'll just put it plainly. I think the goal of this season, even if it doesn't come full circle in this season, and then you're really going to make the thrust for the third season, I think Cage, for me, needs to go Technico. Because we already have monster guys like Mil Muertes and Matanza that are these Rudo kind of guys and just tearing everything up. I think Cage, if he's going to stand up to one of these guys, which I think he will, particularly Mil Muertes, I would want him to go the Technico route. So one big thing I'd have for a second season, definitely an altercation with Mil Muertes. Honestly, that match to me is worthy of an Ultima Lucha spot in itself, but that wouldn't be my Ultima Lucha plans for him, just part of the season. And so you do that. And Ultima Lucha, I think what I would really like is a match between Cage and King Cuerno, 1-on-1, because
Ooh, I like that.
they were having some stare downs and in the first season, when that they were kind of a part of a team and they
Metal
were
Gear
working
Solid,
together.
of course.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid, and there were times like I remember in the triple threat between Cuerno, Cage, and Hernandez. They would isolate Hernandez, but they would always stare back and like at each other. They would do this game of one-upsmanship. There's a tension between Cage and King Cuerno that I would really like to explore, and I think that could really bring Cage being a Technico full circle. Because I'll say right now, and I know I was late to the party, whereas my cohort here, he was all over that. I do think King Cuerno, I don't want to use underappreciated, but I think underrated Rudo would be appropriate because I don't think people realize how good of a villain this guy is or can be. And I'm really trusting him to get Cage over as that guy. Like, oh man, we love Cage. We love watching him just tear apart and disembowel people with his power. So yeah, I'd say Cage and Cuerno, Ultima Lucha, and then in the third season, I would definitely put the strap on Cage. I think he's ready. I think he's got all the tools, and I just think the world of the guy. So that's my game plan for the machine.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I do. It's it's so hard to kind of, and this is where I give all the respect in the world to the Lucha Underground writers because they do one of the hardest things that anyone can possibly do in that they create something out of nothing. And I think Al Snow has even said this before. Writing for wrestling shows and booking is like putting together a puzzle that you don't know what the final product looks like. Like you don't have the lid to create the puzzle with.
Right.
It's so difficult to do, and that's another thing that I really just wanted to point out because you and I have been just kind of trying to just kind of throw out stuff that we want to see people do, and I've noticed a few comments just saying like we have everybody in the Gift of the Gods match, and it's not necessarily that we want all of the people that we say could be in Gift of the Gods to be there. It's just that we're mentioning names that we could see possibly being in that match. Obviously, it's only going to be 7. So if we throw out 20 different names that could potentially be in that match, obviously only 7 are going to be in. But it's not necessarily us saying, yes, we have this exact thing in mind, and there are going to be these exact 7 people in the Gift of the Gods match. As much as I would love for us to have that kind of commitment, we both have lives, both have other commitments, and we're doing this because we enjoy it, because we freaking love Lucha Underground, and we like being able to talk about it and just letting our imaginations run wild as far as what's going to happen in the future. So if you have anything to add to that, John.
Oh, I mean, again, as per usual, you hit the nail on the head, brother. I mean, to me, Lucha Underground is the best thing going, and I think I would hope that you guys would be able to tell in my voice when I'm talking about the characters here, especially Cage, who I'm not a mark for, like, as opposed to, say, a Johnny Mundo, but I see such promise with him where he is that you can't help but get excited about the landscape before you and all the possibility it contains. And yeah, I had no intention of put, and like I saw that comment too, and I get it because it does seem like Give to the Gods for some of the people on our list has been a go-to. But then you look at guys like Cage, and I kind of invoke King Cuerno because that would be his opponent. Yeah, I think these guys could carry their own individual program and not need to be a part of a hodgepodge like Gift of the Gods. And that's where the excitement comes in because I would love that match, and I think again that would really do a lot for both guys. And yeah, I mean, this program is just so, and that being Lucha Underground is just so wonderful and so phenomenal. It brings the best, I think, out of everybody. And again, like you said, we do it for fun. And it's been a while since I've had this much fun fantasy booking something like we have the careers of these individuals. It's just
Absolutely.
delightful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing, John, is this doesn't happen very often, but I actually disagree with you on this one.
Okay, so you disagree about like my plans for Cage for Ultima Lucha.
Specifically, I disagree that he has to turn Technico. I don't think he does.
And see, dude, to me, I feel like we've just got not necessarily an oversaturation of monster Rudo characters, but it's
Do we
kind of feeling
really
like it's
though?
coming close. Well, I mean, we already got again like Matanza and
Well, yeah,
Miller.
but
Like
my thing is we lost Hernandez, we lost Big Rick.
that is true,
That's huge to me because really now, I mean, Matanza, you say that, but we might not even see him until Ultima Lucha.
and that too, I think is a fair point. To me, I feel like even when you have two monster Rudos, and maybe I'm
Oh
thinking
my
too much.
god, I just thought of something right now.
Okay, good, go with it.
I want Cage versus Pentagon.
Interesting.
I don't care who's Technico, who's Rudo. It doesn't matter to me. I just want those guys to kill each other.
Honestly, I like it. I mean, Pentagon has been like making these sacrifices, these mortal sacrifices to his master.
Yeah.
How do you sacrifice a machine that
And
could
that's
even
my
kind of
thing
do some of that?
too, is and then the reason that I kind of arrived at that conclusion is because I was thinking, who are these supposed monster heels that you were talking about? And the only ones that I could think of are Mill and Pentagon. That's it. So you say we've got like a surplus of them. We've got two.
But see, to me, and again, I was even getting ready to say, maybe I'm thinking too much of this in like a kayfabe sense. I feel like even when you've got two, that's too many because I feel like sooner or later they're going to come on a collision course and be like, so you think you're tougher than me, or it's not big enough for the both of us, insert cliche here. And I feel like if you had Cage and Matanza under the same roof, dude, it's only a matter of time before they're going to bump shoulders. And they're going to think, well, you got a problem, and then they're going to want to settle it. And I just think
But
Cage
are
is the
they under the same roof though?
well, aren't they? They're both in the temple. They're both kind of doing their own thing. That's what I'm saying. I
Well,
feel like a
that's my
collision is,
question though. Is Matanza going to be returning to the temple, or is he going to be caged up in some remote location?
and that's another interesting point too, because we saw him go off with Cueto and Black Lotus, but we know that they secured the funding to stay in Boyle Heights. So maybe Cueto's just kind of waiting for something to happen before he can return to the temple with Matanza. But in the meantime, I guess I would have to say no, because he's gone. We saw him drive off with
Yeah,
Cueto and Lotus. So. Hmm. But I do like the idea of Cage and Pentagon. I do. I think there's a lot of intrigue in that
yeah.
matchup. I would not
And
mind
I
seeing
think
that at
again,
all.
I mean, you're talking about turning Cage technical. I guess he would almost have to if he was to face Pentagon, unless they're going to go forward with Pentagon as one. But I don't see that. I think my personal end game, and I'm just going to, this is a little bit of a spoiler for a future episode of Luchador Spotlight, but my personal end game for Pentagon is Prince Puma at Ultima Lucha.
And see, I'm just gonna say right now, since you already put it out there, I've had that for Pentagon since I just thought of the series in my head and
Yeah.
brought it to you because to me,
So you know what?
yeah.
No, you know what? I'm not going to cut you off. Go ahead. To me, to you, what?
No, I was just gonna say to me like that is the best thing for Pentagon to do because his stock is just otherworldly right
Right.
now.
And then you
Like,
get Vampiro and Conan involved too,
well, yeah, because we don't
assuming
even know the
Conan's
state's
still
going.
alive.
Exactly. I just feel like I don't want to leave Cuerno out in the cold. And the reason why I haven't put him in Gift of the Gods is here's the thing again. It goes back to what I was saying earlier. I think he is kind of underrated a little bit in terms of his ability as a Rudo to be this like malicious guy. And with Cage as this machine, I feel like the program could be very straightforward. I'm not looking for anything overly convoluted. You have Cage now that he got Mac off of his back, doing a little bit of a rhyme game there. He goes back on a tear a little bit. Muertes kind of stops it, but I would have Cage really hold his own, really look competent.
Yeah,
And,
I had the same exact thought. I think that he has to have a title shot against Muertes, and obviously he's not going to win, but that's
right.
definitely something that I would want to see happen in season two.
Yeah, he hangs in there, and Cuerno's just watching and thinking about, of all the game I've hunted, I don't think I've ever seen anything more lethal than a machine. And then he tries his hand at it. Maybe he picks the leg apart, and you see Cage really vulnerable, screaming in pain. And then you think,
See,
well,
I don't like that though. I don't like. I think I have the complete opposite um, mindset than WWE when it comes to how to book a monster because they always think, oh, well, he's this big, scary guy. What we should do is make him look vulnerable. Whereas to me, I'm the exact opposite. I never want my monsters to look vulnerable. I want them to look unstoppable. And even in losses, I want them to just come back and destroy whoever it was that beat them because I
right.
never want my monster to look like anything but a monster. To me, as soon as a monster winces a little bit or shows that they're in pain, that lessens the value of them as a monster in the first place a little bit.
That kind of diminishes the mystique for you.
Yeah,
D-
exactly.
d- do you,
That's why like even just getting thrown over the announcer's table annoys me with Braun Strowman in WWE because to me like I love that it's so hard to knock him off his feet, but then when it's so hard to knock him off his feet, but you can actually throw him over the announce table. That just doesn't make sense to me. It's a disconnect. That's why I'm saying like this whole idea of Cuerno kind of being the Rudo and kind of picking on a body part and seeing Cage in pain just really just kind of throws me off.
and see, I would still want to go with it, but I am curious about one thing though, a bit unrelated. I mean, you gave your conception of what you believe a monster type character should be. Do you feel like Lucha Underground executed your vision with the Cage Mac program? Because he came back and he pretty much destroyed Mac with that curb stomp at the end.
Yeah,
So,
well,
like,
I don't necessarily think that. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, they did. Now that I think about it, they did because he he never got beaten up by the Mac. He got beat
right,
by the Mac, but it was a quick roll up, and he immediately popped up and destroyed the Mac afterwards.
right. Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I think they handled that perfectly. And to me, even though you say, that we have like an excess of monster heels, monster rudos, whatever you want to call them, I think that Muertes and Pentagon are the only ones that we have, and I don't think that those guys are going to interact at all during season 2. And
Yeah.
because of that, I do think that Cage can stay Rudo, stay Monster Rudo, and interact with both of them throughout the season at some point or another.
Well, very interesting. Two different ideals, two different paths, but I think they both lead to very interesting destinations. So I like where your mind's going. Again, my mind's already kind of made up about Cage's future, with Lucha Underground, and we'll see what happens. I've got really nothing else to say about Cage. So if you have anything else you want to say, you have the floor, but I'm good.
Yeah, like I was saying, I like working Cuerno into it, but I think that would require a, a Technico Cage, and I don't necessarily think that necessarily needs to happen. So I'm just gonna kind of say maybe, what I could see though, I could see him working Tejano.
That's true. That could be a possibility.
I
Yeah.
could see him working Tejano. I could see him working Mill and Pentagon. And that's another thing too, is I even, when we get to our Mil Muertes highlight, which we will in a few weeks, I plan on turning him Technico.
Right.
That's one of the things that I'm going to do with him, or that I know for a fact that I'm going to do with him. Obviously, there's probably going to be more to it, but so yeah, that to me, he's just too over with the crowd to stay Rudo.
Right.
They love him way too much, and I think Cage is good enough at kind of maintaining that heat and just coming off as a scumbag all the time to not necessarily need to turn. So yeah, for Cage, I'm gonna say just a combination of Tejano, Mill, Pentagon. Maybe he'll go after Phoenix while Phoenix still has the Gift of the Gods title and fail. Maybe he'll even win it from him. I don't know. Maybe that's how he gets his match with Mil Muertes.
Maybe that would be a nice twist.
Yeah,
Because my thing is, I really think Lucha Underground is itching to get Mil Muertes and Phoenix back in the ring with each other for the
right.
world title.
Yeah,
But here's the thing: I think you and I have both learned with Lucha Underground, things are never as they seem.
yeah,
Fans might be thinking it's gonna just simply be Phoenix cashing in. We don't know that.
yeah.
So to me, I actually like that idea because then Lucha Underground be like, well, see, you weren't paying attention the first season. Always expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess I'll put a cap on it now. I'm gonna say that's my final thought on the situation. I think there's a lot you can do with Cage, and I think that the biggest sort of travesty would be just not having enough of him on TV.
Oh, and see there, you and I completely agree. They've really got something special with him. I mean, I even told you, I think Cage is Lucha Underground's answer to Brock Lesnar. I really do, and I would really like to see booking comparable to that. Just see him go back on a tear again and really get up there because he is a phenomenal talent. So
Yep. All right. So, any last thoughts?
no, I'm good, man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. I guess that's going to be the end of our Cage discussion. But do not fret because we'll be coming back on Thursday with episode 11, where we will be highlighting somebody that interacted with Cage quite a bit throughout season 1, the Mac.
It's gonna be a fun time.
Absolutely. We get to talk about all of his crazy flips and tricks and stuff and how he's, so much more entertaining than his cousin, and how he's not retiring like his cousin and all that stuff. And I'm not bitter at all, I promise.
Yeah, there you go, brother. There you go.
All right, ladies and
Uh,
gentlemen, we will see you for NXT tomorrow night, or if you're only here for Lucha content, we'll see you on Thursday where we talk about the Mac.